Back with you on Hittin Hard with Jon Chuckery here on Locked On Sports Atlanta. Head over to youtube.com, put Locked On Sports Atlanta into the browser, find our webpage there, and subscribe to the channel and leave us a comment. Also free and available to download this podcast on all your favorite podcast platforms, Spotify, Odyssey, all your favorites. Leave us a 5-star review when you get there as well. And then, of course, follow me on my personal Twitter page at JMCH316. Well, it was a hell of a weekend for the Atlanta Braves, a hell of a 4-game set on a 5-game winning streak right now with that final game in Arizona and then the 4 in Colorado. Look, this is what we talked about, that this has to be the turning point of the season. There is no waiting for another stretch of games to come along and get yourself better, because it's the combination of, like we talked about, 13 games against the dregs of the universe, the low-life Rockies, the despicable A's, the dreadful Pirates, and the god-awful Nationals. You have to take advantage of that. And we talked about this last week, about 10-3, 11-2. And that may be some pie in the sky, but you saw over the weekend, this team's capable of running off. And obviously, look, I understand it's Coors Field, and the game on Friday night was pretty wild because Max Fried was 8 innings of 2-hit shutout ball, was magnificent. And they had to go to extra innings just to even get some runs, out there. But the Braves offense in this 5-game winning streak has come up with 36 runs in their last 5 games. I'll take that all day long, over 7 runs a game. I understand Coors Field, and that gets inflated. We'll see what happens now that they're going to be home starting tomorrow against, couple with Oakland, 4 with Pittsburgh, and then they'll hit the road to take on the god-awful Washington Nationals. But this is exactly what we talked about. And by the way, in this, remember we described the 13-game set for the Braves and the 13-game set coming up for the Mets, and we talked about, can you find a way to get 4 to 6 games made up on the division? Well, the Braves have picked up 2 games already. Braves have already found a way to pick up 2 games in all of this. This is the stretch. And I don't know if it's make or break, but it's make or break. Because if you can't make up games now, if you can't get on a roll now to get this season going, and you can't make up games now, I don't know when you're going to find it. This is all put on a platter for the Atlanta Braves, and they took advantage of that by sweeping the Rockies this weekend. 4-game set, they sweep the Rockies. Now they'll come home, and now you've got to make sure that you take care of your business against the A's and the Pirates. We talked last week about the Pirates are crazy, right? They took the season series from the LA Dodgers. That they literally won the season series from those guys. So anything can happen in baseball, right? Baseball is one of those weird things that your momentum is as good as what your next day starting pitcher is. But you can't let the Pirates come in here and act like that they're Big Balls Willie and take over. Yeah, you got to keep going. This next game where you've got this next stretch where you've got 2 with Oakland and 4 with the Pittsburgh Pirates, that has to be 5-1. Has to be 5-1. And then you go on the road to the Nationals, and you got a 3-game set there, and let's say you take 2 out of 3 there. Okay. So you ended up going the 11-2 that we talked about. And worst case scenario is you end up with 10-3. Can't be anything less than 10-3 right now. And you saw the signs and everything pointing upward, that the bats are getting cranked up. They had some timely hitting. How about the fact that they won a couple, not one, they won multiple extra inning games? Crazy to think about the fact that Coors Field would have had extra inning games after a 13-6 start in that series. But the fact that the Braves found a way, those are all signs that we can take from this weekend that tell you, okay, this thing looks like it's turning around. Max Fried, outstanding. So we know we've got locked down. Our pitching got us through what we had to do. Strider looks like he's coming around. He's probably going to get some more starts in that 5th spot in the rotation. You look and say, okay, Duvall homered, Ronnie had a homer, Olsen had a big weekend series, Riley did some really good things. Maybe this core of guys, we joked about the fact that we called out Travis d'Arnaud the other day and said it's time for d'Arnaud to, play catcher every day. Well, lo and behold, that very next night, d'Arnaud, obviously, listening to us on Spotify or Odyssey on YouTube, took it to heart and said, I got to prove Chuckery wrong. We all know that he had it in the dugout and had to prove me wrong. I get that. I mean, we all understand. Wink, wink, right? But no, you saw a lot of guys that, like we talked about, maybe being in Coors Field for 4 games, a nice little 4-game set in Coors Field, get yourself healthy and right. Maybe it's a chance to kind of fix some things and know that, hey, I can get away with some things in this ballpark because it is a hitter's haven, even as big as it is. You saw even some of the outs that the Braves made. You saw a few of those on the fan grass and things like that, Ronnie had a couple of fly balls that would have been out in like 16 of the 30 ballparks in baseball, right? You feel like that the Braves are now finally hitting their stride. And again, this is all going to be about getting their offense on track to where it needs to be, producing night in and night out. You don't need all 9 guys night in, night out to produce, but what you can't have is 5 or 6 guys every single night that aren't giving you anything. The other night was maddening because the Braves couldn't find any runs, and yet they got like 5 or 6 hits out of Ronnie and Dansby at the top of the order. When those guys are on that much, you got to have the middle of your order come through and find a way to knock a few of those guys in at some point. And that's the part that's killed the Braves this year is you can't find any consistency in some guy. Look, if you could get, let's say, 2 or 3 guys in the middle of your order, if you can get Olsen and Riley, for instance, okay, to get themselves on an extended hot streak. Riley's been obviously hot here of late. Olsen seems like he's figuring some things out. You can get a couple of those guys in the middle of your order because Dansby and Ronnie have done a good job at the top. They've done a good job of getting on base. Even Michael Harris has done a good job of at least getting on base. If you can find a couple of those guys through the middle of your order to get consistent and be what we think that they're going to be, you're going to be in really good shape. And then you're going to mix in Duvall and Ozuna and d'Arnaud and Ozzie. You're going to find some of those guys that are going to just work themselves in, as well. So my point is that this was a really good sign offensively for what the Braves did. Let's see these next 6 games coming up. How much was Coors Field? How much was the offenses fixed? We're trying to come up with these narratives. At least we broke that. We haven't won 3 games in a row. Now you're on a 5-game winning streak. I would think they're coming back with immense confidence right now, and you expect this team to keep this train moving, especially given about some of the lower competition. But if the Braves can't find a way to get it done now in this stretch, even with the Mets taking 2 out of 4, the good news is, like I said, you picked up 2 games. So you have to just keep winning and expecting the Mets to lose. And then, like I said, we get through this 13-game stretch, and all of a sudden the lead, which was 10.5 when this thing all started, if that gets down to, let's say, 5.5, 6.5 games or what have you, okay, the Braves have done their job. And now if you've kind of almost cut that lead in half as we head through, now you feel like you've got a shot. Now you feel like you're not just kind of treading water and the Mets are, just too good of it. You feel like you've got a shot with all of this. So we'll see what happens, but a great weekend for the Braves. And most importantly feels like the offense have gotten things cranked up and going. All right, we thank you so much for being a part of Hittin' Hard with Jon Chuckery here on Locked On Sports Atlanta. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. Don't forget, make your second listen A to Z with Mark Zinno. Mark Zinno is back in Atlanta giving his opinions. So opinions that that you may not like at times, but you got to hear them. So you can find him free and available on our YouTube page. Head over to Locked On Sports Atlanta. Subscribe there. Also available, free and available on all of your favorite podcast platforms, Spotify, Odyssey. Download it today. Give us a 5-star review. Find me on my Twitter page, at JMCH316. We'll be back with you tomorrow. It's Hittin' Hard with Jon Chuckery on Locked On Sports Atlanta.